Hi, everybody. It's nice to see a few of you kind of like looking at all the different cars in there, trying to spot some ones that haven't been announced yet, or we haven't really talked about. That's quite nice. So firstly, who in the audience is here as a racing game fan? And who is here as a esports kind of fan? Just so I kind of know. Okay, 3 people. Okay, thank you for turning up. Hello, 3 people. So firstly, a big thank you to kind of everyone out there who supported us on the first game. The sequel game would not even be possible if it wasn't for you guys either supporting us with the WMD community, helping us actually make the game in the first place, or buying the game when it actually came out. So thank you for buying the game, and also thank you to all the kind of journalists who then went on to make it the best racing game of 2015. We also then went on to make the Project Cars Game of the Year edition, of course. So we supported you guys. You guys helped us make the game, and we then supported you guys after the game had come out with the on-demand program and helping you, putting out brand new content for the game and all that kind of stuff. So it was very nice, therefore, to get this last little tagline down here from Top Gear saying it's now great that Project Cars is generally on the competition up there with Forza and Gran Turismo. So that was really, really nice to kind of see. We are also the #1 racing esport out there, so we'll talk about that in a bit. And Project Cars also was the leading VR title at launch. So we were a launch title on Oculus Rift when that came out. So Palmer Lucky got a chance to have a play on the game, thought it was awesome. And then also our race drivers got a chance to play in VR as well, including Ben Collins, who's the ex-Top Gear Stig. And we see VR as being the next big thing for racing games because the racing game genre has always been quite accepting of new peripherals, so steering wheels and pedals and seats and all that kind of stuff. And now finally we've got a helmet. So we'll talk about VR in a bit as well. So, Project Cars 2 is coming out late 2017. So how are we going to kind of expand upon what came out in Project Cars 1? Well, we're going to do that in a number of ways. But first, I wanted to tackle something which the community you guys have been talking about on social media this week. I put out a tweet asking people to ask questions for this developer session here. And the things that came back were all the same things that we saw in Project Cars 1, in the reviews and in the comment section of YouTube and on Reddit and NeoGAF and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to make it very clear. I mean, this is going to go out on YouTube eventually, so this video will be up there forever. I want to make it very clear that the stuff that people maybe thought was deficient or lacking in the first game, we've fixed that already. We've fixed that day 1. So when I see tweets saying, is the sticking issue between 2 cars when they collide, is that fixed? Yes, it is. Is the control pad, is the gamepad handling a lot better now? Yes, it is. We fixed that very early on. We fixed that back in November now. And the game isn't out until late 2017. The AI, people thought that maybe the AI was a little bit too aggressive sometimes. Has that been fixed? Yes, it has. So before I go into any of the new features, I want it to be very clear that we've fixed the things that people were talking about first, and then we moved on to brand new stuff. So people can ask more questions today after the presentation if they want, but just wanted to get it out there and make it clear. Okay, right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what we call the power of conditions. So what does this mean? Well, it means that in Project Cars 2, not only are you fighting against your opponents, but you're also now fighting against Mother Nature. So I'm very pleased again to say that Project Cars 2 has the largest track roster of any racing game on console. So we don't usually talk about numbers in terms of like cars or whatever. It's the equivalent of people asking how many guns are there in Call of Duty. That's not really relevant. But the important thing is that we have the largest track roster on console, and every single one of them has got dynamic time of day, dynamic weather, and now seasonal changes too. And what that means is that you can go to Fuji, for example, and you can go there in the summer, You can go there in the autumn. You can go there in the winter when there'll be more snow on the mountain. And you can go in the spring. So we've come a very, very long way from this. Namco's very first racing game, which also had a Fuji there in the background. And the thing that powers it is this underlying technology called LiveTrack 3.0. And LiveTrack 3.0 does a load of different things, but we'll talk about three main things here. The first is that the track now evolves over both the course of a season and also the course of a race weekend. So for those of you who are into racing, you'll know that the track surface on a Saturday morning before the practice session has started is very, very different to what it's like on a Sunday afternoon after the track has been completely rubbered in, skid marks everywhere, some guy's gone off on the gravel and brought it back onto the track, there's oil that's been dropped everywhere, there's rubber pellets all everywhere, and it's in a filthy state. And not only does it look kind of visually different, but it feels very different too. So this is one thing that the drivers have been telling us about, which is going to make it even more authentic, that now, every single time you go to the track, it's going to be a little bit different. The other thing that LiveTrack allows us to do is to bring in far more complicated things, like every track in the game has a GPS coordinate. And from those GPS coordinates, we then work out the height above sea level, we work out the track temperature, we work out the ambient temperature, we work out whether it's windy or not and how that's going to affect you. So although the picture here is from one of our code team who doesn't know maybe how to create very pretty screenshots, it's showing that there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on the track, which is all very, very dynamic. And the last thing is puddles and rain. So now in Project Cars 2, every raindrop that drops from a real rain cloud in the sky. And those real rain clouds, when the rain hits the surface, it then gets absorbed into the surface. And as we all know, some surfaces absorb at better rates than others, and therefore it'll saturate. And because we've got fluid dynamics in the game as well now, it means that those raindrops and those puddles will now drip down the track to its lowest point, and they'll now start making dynamic puddles. So why the heck do we do this? Well, we do it because it's going to add even more strategy to your races. In Project Cars 1, the rain was very much on or off. Okay, so it was dynamic, but it was either completely dry or completely wet and then back to dry again. Now you've got a situation where it can be completely dry, completely wet, and now parts of the track are wet, parts are dry. Do you stay out on those wet tires? Do you go in and swap over? You really don't know. You could be completely dry on the start-finish straight, but later down in the back straight, you could have these massive puddles. We've now got a dynamic driving line as well, which means that if you are staying out, the more the AI and the more other players keep driving over the same bit, it'll now start to create a drying line on the track. So LiveTrack really is the proof is in the name there. It is supposed to be this completely dynamic living track, which means that every time you go to Brands Hatch in this particular case, it's going to be a little bit different depending on what season you're there, whether you're at night, whether you're in blazing hot sunshine in the summer, whether it's starting to rain, whether it's just rain before the race, etc. And of course, when you incorporate dirt and gravel and things like that, and it starts raining, it's now going to generate mud, and the cars get all dirty, and that's going to be a factor now, too. So when it comes to making tracks, have you seen it? Have you seen a picture like this before? It's a laser scan of a track, okay? But laser scanning of tracks, for those people who don't know, is probably the most accurate way of getting a track data, okay? But it's 2017, so it can go a little bit more now. So this is drone footage. So whenever we do a track, every single track that goes into Project Cars 2 now is laser scanned. But also, we fly drones over the surface, and they not only do a scan as well, so we get kind of a double scan there, but also they take photos of the ground, and then they stitch it all together using a new system called photogrammetry. And that generates this, which is 700 photos that have all been stitched together of a track surface So now it not only mathematically is accurate, but now it also physically and tangibly looks exactly like the actual location as well. So gone are the days of one of our junior artists having to fly out to these locations and take photos like one by one at the ground and all these weird things that they get in trouble by the US Police Department for taking photos of. And now we can fly a drone over there, which has its own problems, of course, but we can now get something which is absolutely perfect. So there's no more interpreting the data. It's exactly as you would have seen it in real life. We've also got a brand new tire model. So what this is showing here is that this tire, or this tire here, is squishy. So computers are really good at modeling hard things. So glass and cars and metal and things like that. When it comes to squishy things, it's really difficult because they're not very good at doing that stuff. It takes a lot of calculations. So a tire with all the different layers and all the different ridges and all that stuff and all the air inside it and the different materials that are made is very, very complicated. And tire manufacturers usually don't give us that information because it's so secret. It's like the KFC secret recipe. But with our new enhanced tire model, a lot of the manufacturers are now giving us that information. And therefore now we can model an actual piece of rubber with different temperatures and all that kind of stuff inside it, different air pressures and all that stuff, different rates of wear. And that makes the whole thing a lot better. It means that now in project cars, when you go over the level of grip and start sliding sideways, it's now both more manageable and recoverable as well, as opposed to maybe project cars 1 where if you went over and started sliding, you felt like you were gone, you were off in the gravel somewhere. So all that stuff makes it a lot easier to control and a lot more authentic as well. Come on, Mac, this is the PC Gamer event. You're not showing me up very well here. Let's go. There we go. Right. So yes, there's lots of complicated things that go off in the background there for this stuff. And then another key aspect of our authenticity is that we've got 7 major drivers who are helping us make the game. So you will see these guys more over the next year, but they are working on the game right now. Yeah. So they're not just like marketing people that I may pull up and go, hey, Ben, tell us about the game. Like, he's actually helping us make the game as a handling consultant, yeah? So they're not just like people we're going to pull up for marketing reasons. These guys are out there doing this as a career every single day of their lives, whether they are doing it in the German GT series or DTM or sliding sideways in Formula Drift or driving in Le Mans or driving for the Red Bull team in Rallycross. These guys know what they're doing. They do it every single day of their lives, and they're telling us when things are wrong so we can make it better and actually fix it, yeah? As opposed to, as I say, bringing them on board just to preach to you how good the game is when it actually isn't. You know, these guys are helping us get to that level of authenticity. We're also seeing, even if you aren't a top-tier driver, we're also seeing that racing games now are the start for many people's careers, whereas they may have previously done karting, for example. So there are people out there who are starting their racing careers, and for either financial or geographical reasons, they cannot make it to the tracks out there that they're competing in that particular series or league. So now you can pick up a game, and because they are getting more and more authentic, you can actually now practice a track and get a sense of, you know, what that track's about and the handling of the car and learn your racecraft and all that kind of stuff. And one of those key things that is going to help those people is esports. So we are adding in a brand new game mode called Online Championships. And this is something that you guys have been doing for over a year now. But you've been doing it with websites and Excel spreadsheets and pieces of paper and notepads and Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff. And thank you for doing that, but we're here to help you with that stuff because that is a lot of work. So again, thank you very much for doing that, but we've put a brand new game mode in there which is going to allow you to make your own series, your own leagues. Everyone, you invite the drivers in, you set the teams up, you set what the rounds are, when you want those rounds to happen, and the schedule of that kind of stuff. and then you tell people when the next round is on, you start playing, it then distributes all the results and standings to everybody out there. Everyone gets notified when the next round is. Like, it does it automatically. And this is happening on every single platform. So not just PC, but also on Xbox and PlayStation 4. Whether I'm allowed to talk about those here, I'm not sure. Right. So let's talk about esports then. So Project Cars right now is the #1 racing esport out there. There are many other people who have their kind of own ideas of what esports are, but via the different series we've ran and the leagues that we've been doing for over 2 years now, there's no doubt that we are the premium title out there. So in addition to being at Gamescom and DreamHack and Gamergy and Paris Games Week and all that kind of stuff, we've also had attendance at Intel Extreme Masters. Red Bull were very kind to get rid of Gran Turismo and replace them with ourselves last year, so we were more than grateful for that. So we had people playing in North versus South tournament in Birmingham, and then they were flown over to Tokyo to play in the finals over there as well. And therefore, we're very kind of happy with the roadmap that we've got for esports, but we want to make sure we add 3 key things in there which are going to cement that position. So the first is you can earn a competitive racing license in Project Cars. So if you're not even interested in esports whatsoever, so let's ignore that completely. How many times have you gone into a racing game and you've been knocked off on the first corner? Because there's always some idiot there, right? There's always an idiot, whether you're playing League of Legends, Overwatch, whatever, right? The competitive racing license, that first letter there, the S rank, is your racecraft. And therefore, the more professional you are out on the track, the more it's going to go up. The more of an idiot that you are, the more it's going to go down. And therefore, every single race that you go into in Project Cars 2, you will be match made with someone of the similar kind of level of professionalism. So even if you're not interested in esports whatsoever, this is going to help that situation. If you're making your own private games as well, you can also use it as a matchmaking filter. So you can say, only allow S-rank players in this, okay? The next number, the number 5 there, is once we've match-made you with people of similar professionalism, we want to make sure that you're with people of similar competitiveness. So the number 5 there represents a progression system. So this is the equivalent of going from, say, bronze 5 to diamond 1 in other games, yeah? You are going to want to have the biggest number there, or the smallest. I can't remember which way we're going to do it now. Yeah, you're going to want to have the top ranking there. So if you start playing and winning against people who are slightly better than you, you're going to get a lot of points. If you start playing against people who are actually worse than you, you're only going to get a few. And if you start losing against people who are actually worse than you, you're going to start losing points because theoretically you should be actually better than those guys. So now the competitive racing license is a great way to remove toxicity from the game, and also a great way to add progression into into this as well. So it should be everyone's best interest to get a highly professional, highly competitive racing license, because those people are probably the people who are prime candidates to join our esports games. The second part of it is that we are adding in director and broadcaster functionality to every single platform. So if you're in any online racing game, or you've set up an online championship, which I just showed you, you can assign one of your friends to be the director, and it's his job to be in charge of the cameras, who you're watching, which broadcast overlays are on screen, whether it's the timings or standings or whatever. And then you've got another friend who's in charge of the actual streaming and can also be the commentator as well. So you can imagine if you and your mates are making a league and you are extremely proud of it and you want to broadcast it to the world, all you have to do is just have 2 people who are, one is going to be the actual guy who's like changing the cameras, and one is the actual guy who's going to be screaming over the stream, you know, and engaging all your fans. So this is going to be a great way for both you guys as friends. It's going to be a great way for big brands, manufacturers, motorsports, ourselves, to make these really professional quality streams. And the last thing is that with the ability for all you guys to make your own streams and your own esport events, how the hell are you going to watch them all? So any game that you feel is worthy of other people and you want to, you want people to watch, you can have a little flag and it gets sent to what we call Esports Primetime. And Esports Primetime is an area of the game where you can just click on something and it brings up all the games that are happening right now. And you just browse them like a TV channel. So you can go, oh, this guy's playing, or this massive league that I've heard of is playing, or oh, it's the Red Bull Esports 2017 Cup. Yeah, now you just browse to it, click on it, and you can then go watch it on Twitch. And if you missed it, you can catch it on Catch Up. So Catch Up is another button that you can press, and it takes you off to our YouTube playlist of all curated games that you might have missed as well. Right then, so if you want more information on that stuff, you can go to our dedicated website, projectcarsesports.com, and you can see all the series that are happening right now and catch up with all the teams and driver info and all that kind of stuff. The third thing is Project Cars 2 has got all the iconic manufacturers that you thought might have been missing in Project Cars 1. The success of the first game, which was the very first thing I told you guys about, has helped us in an enormous way to get on board massive manufacturers and licenses that we might have previously been unable to. Okay, so I can confirm that the ones that you're probably thinking of in your mind right now are in Project Cars 2. We're also adding in brand new motorsports too. So Project Cars 2 is the official game of the IndyCar license. So you're going to see a lot of Indy action in Project Cars 2 as well. And then, as I've alluded to, we're also adding in loose surface racing. So there are other games out there which have dirt, okay? We are adding in dirt, gravel, mud, and also snow and ice as well. So you might have seen over the last week, we took some journalists out to do some ice driving in Sweden. And this was something we've been wanting to get to for a while and comes out of like the new tire model I was explaining, where if you're going to go over the levels of grip and you're going to be sliding sideways, we want to be able to fix that technically with a tire model, but also we want to provide you with some awesome gameplay to do that in. So in Project Cars 2, you'll be able to go to the Mercedes winter ice training track, and you'll be able to throw your car around the track going sideways on a frozen ice lake, as well as many other motorsports that I can't go into right now, I'm afraid. So Project Cars 2, as I say, it allows you to go anytime, anywhere, any track, day, night, wet, foggy, thunderstorm, whatever. And it's all powered by this LiveTrack 3 technology that is going to mean that every time you go there, it's going to be completely different. We've used brand new cutting-edge technology to make sure that all the tracks look amazing. Project Cars 2 also is playable at 12K resolution, which is crazy. Is this a 4K TV? If so, it means 3 of those 4K TVs next to each other. You have to be Tony Stark, of course, to own one. And also, we're putting in proper triple screen and 21:9 support for those guys who have got those. So we are at PC Gamer Weekend, so I know you guys are big tech heads for this kind of stuff. It's been made by real drivers. And also, it's got the widest variety of cars and motorsports and also track surface types as well. And we're adding in online championships and going in with esports support from day one as well. Right. That's it for my presentation. So if there are any questions, please ask, and we'll send a microphone out there and get some questions. Thanks for listening. No questions? Great. Let's go.
The last game's setup system was a bit weird. Will there be a proper load and save and exchange setups?
Yeah, so that's another one that we've heard, which should have been on my tweets. We can't go into it right now, but again, please take my word for it that we've overhauled the tuning setup system, we've overhauled the pit strategy system, and we've overhauled the, without giving things away, the way that you communicate with your team whilst out on the track. Okay, so when we hear about things like, oh, I wish I could have multiple tuning setups for the same track. Like, we've heard that. Can't go into the details, but also when we do go into the details, like, we want to give you like lots of details. So look out for more information on it, and we'll have a load of like pictures and explanation of it, because I know it's quite a deep thing that you guys want to do. I was just listening to somebody today, and they were talking about like balance of performance as well for the cars in classes. So again, we'll be talking about that in future as well. Yeah.
Hey, so when it comes to the online championships, will it be you set up the championship and it's set dates, set times, everybody qualifies at the same time on the track, or is it do your qualifying, post your times, and then everybody gets together to race?
So at the moment, so I've heard the second part request from other people. At the moment, it's that everyone goes in and does the qualification and practice at the same time. So what you do is you set your rounds. So you say, okay, we're all going to play on Saturday night, okay? And everyone turns up on Saturday night and plays. And the next scheduled round is not until next Saturday. But actually, if everyone in the lobby thinks, actually, should we just carry on and just do like the next round now, or should we do it tomorrow? That's completely possible as well. So what you do is you set like an intended round start, but actually, you're with your friends. So if everyone kind of overwrites that and go, no, let's just carry on now, you can do that completely as well. What you're talking about with the qualification thing is like, let everyone qualify like all week, and then Saturday is the actual race. So we have heard of that request as well. But yeah, we'll have to talk to the team about that. It's not planned like that currently. Okay? Ooh, sorry. Any more?
I guess it's kind of a small kind of question, and that's to do with the professional licenses. Now, obviously, none of us like trolls and people who get in the way of our driving. However, how are you distinguishing between who's actually doing it on purpose and obviously who is just, it was too close to the edge of the track, there's no other room and you had no other choice.
Yep.
How are you actually programming that in?
So we'll never get it right. I'll hold my hand up. We'll never get it right. There'll always be someone who complains, of course. But we're trying to do it as it would be done out in real life. So we have a race marshalling system. And what happens is it checks whether you are cutting the track. And if you did cut the track, did you gain any advantage? And we have a payback system as well. So there's lots of systems. There's a payback system that if you did cut the track, you've got to give the time back. So then we detect, did someone make contact with you from behind as opposed to the side, which can sometimes insinuate, did they just slam into the back of you, or did they kind of nudge you out of the way because they were being made contact with? So there's so many different systems involved, and it's very, very complicated, absolutely. And as I said, we'll probably never get it right, but we're trying our very best, yeah? And obviously it's a thing we can change. Yeah, so if we find out that people are getting penalties when they actually shouldn't be, we can change it on the fly, and then it'll be distributed to everybody, and that'll be fixed then. So yeah, we're trying our best. It is working currently, touch wood, and we've got obviously until late 2017 to kind of tweak it, but it is working currently, and we are happy with it. But yeah, obviously, when it gets to a real situation, we'll see, obviously. So the more time we get to give it to people like you and get your hands on with it as well, that'll really give us the information back. Yeah.
Hi, so the rain technology looks impressive, all the water stuff. I'm wondering if it's simulating anything more than slipperiness. There look like there are some pretty deep puddles there. Can you say hydroplane? Does it represent physicality in there as well?
So it's got aquaplaning as well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's so everything that we've put into the game, everything I showed you has an effect on the cars and the tires and the physics and everything. Nothing is canned, nothing is kind of automated, nothing is an animation that's just playing. Everything is real, physical, and simulated. It is a racing simulation after all. So yeah, absolutely. When you drive over it, if you're playing on a gamepad, for example, you'll feel the rumble of the tires dragging through the water and stuff. You'll feel it on the wheel as well. And also, yeah, the more cars that splash through it, the more water gets splashed up, and the more you'll actually then start making a drying line and all the other stuff involved with it. It's not the simple answer is it's just real. It's very, very complicated to do that, but that's what the code team have been working on for a long time. Like, they're just making it completely realistic, and therefore then the gameplay from that comes out of that, basically. So, yeah, nothing's kind of pre-baked at all. It's all completely dynamic.
All right, I'd like to see everyone put their hands together and say thank you very much for Andy coming today. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.